Alright, for 14.6, our directions stated that we're completing an 8-column worksheet for a merchandising business that was organized as a corporation. So your sheet's going to look a little bit different than mine, but what I did is I went through and just moved my numbers over to make the explanation process go a little bit smoother on my end and for you to see. So first things first, it says in direction 1 was to extend all amounts except for the federal income tax expense to the appropriate income statement or balance sheet columns, but do not total those columns. So as you can see, I went through and just brought over all the numbers from the trial balance to the balance sheet, and then to the income statement as needed where they belong. Left a blank line right here at 14 where it's the federal income tax payable, and then way down here at the bottom where it says federal income tax expense, I left blank also. As you can see, there's also 2 blank lines in the adjustments. You're going to see how we're going to use those here shortly. So first things first, I need to go through and total my income statement credit column. So just to show you where I'm getting this number from, at the very top here, income statement credit column, debits on the left, credits on the right. I'm going to go through and add up these, I just missed one, 1, 2, 3 numbers, and that number is going to belong down here. So adding up in my calculator, I'm going to get 859,940.34. Now, doing my debit, a lot more numbers belong in this one. So as you can see here, we're going to be adding from here all the way down here to get a total of, I've done this already, so it's going to be 714,284.40. Now it says the total of income statement credit column and then the total of income statement debit column, subtract those two, would give me 145,655.94. That number doesn't belong anywhere else yet. We're going to use it down below. So I'm going to scroll down even further. We have a tax table sheet here for you to use. This is all stuff that was in our book. It's all brand new for us on this document, so just take your time along with me. We'll be okay. First things first, I know it's 15%. I know my next 25 is 25%, followed by 34%, and then 39%. Those are given to me in my book, so I just put those in now to make it easier for me as we go along. Next thing I'm going to do, I know I'm going to be using 50 plus 25 plus 25 is $100,000. So I know for a fact I'm going to use $100,000. So I'm going to go down here, put my 145,655.94 in this box right here. Reason being, that minus 100,000 gives me my leftover of 45,655.94. We'll use that number here shortly. So first 50,000 is taxed at 15%. So 50,000 times 15% gives me $7,500. The next 25,000 is at 25%. 25,000 times 25% gives me $6,250. The next 25,000 of my 100,000 is 34%. Gives me $8,500. And lastly, 45,655.94 times 39% gives me $17,805.82. So once you have that, you add those 4 numbers up, gives you a total of $40,055.82. All right, so now we're going to use that number up top here. So now we're going to take that number I had right down here, 40,055.82, and that's going to belong right here in my sheet. So 40,055.82. Now, here's the tricky part. Got to figure out what the adjustment is. So now this is a pretty small number, so it's pretty easy. What plus 40,000 gives me $40,055.82? Easy, $55.82 belongs right there. It's a debit because debit plus debit equals a debit. Got to equal that number right in there, okay? So now, second part is it needs to belong up high somewhere else. So it's also going to belong on line number 14 of my document. So I'm going to scroll up here for a second here. So 55.82. line 14, we added a debit, so it's got to be a credit, so 55.82. You can also bring it right over here to the credit right now, because you know it belongs over there too. Got to bring all those numbers over. If not, your math's not going to add up down the line here. So, skipping a few steps there for you. Alright, so now, next thing I need to do is to add up all of my columns. So, I'm going to go work left to right. Add up this column, add up this column, add up this column, this column, this column, this, so on, okay? So this one is going to be 41,377.22. And so is this one, because I know that they match because I have the cheat sheet right in front of me here. But if your numbers don't match, then it could have been that you didn't put your other 5582 in somewhere. Or it may have been that you didn't bring over the right number. You typed it in incorrectly, okay? Now, this one right here is going to be my 714,284.40 plus my 40,055.82. So to give me one less step of having to re-add that whole column, I just added that to that. All right. We know that this one is already my 859,940.34, so we did that math earlier. So I'm going to bring that one right in here. Saves you a little bit of time because you're not having to go through and re-add all the numbers. You already took those numbers and re-added them. Okay, so we've added them in there. So now, in order for your sheet to balance, you must have your right numbers correct. So 859,940.34 minus 754,340.22 gives me 105,600.12. Now, as you can see over here on the left, I forgot to put in my title here. My title that's going to be long is going to be my net income after my federal income tax, okay? Because we did the income tax already. That's a new trick for us. Bringing these numbers down, 859, 940.34, 859, 940.34. All right, now I need to add up my last two columns. So I need to add up my balance sheet debit and my balance sheet credit numbers. All right, my balance sheet debit is 368,601.46, and my credit 263,001.34. Now, as you can see, we're working with a lot larger of numbers in this journal. So you need to make sure you're taking your time when you're inputting it into your calculator, else you're going to be spending a lot of time redoing steps that you should have done correctly. All right, so that's my debit, that's my credit. Now, in order for this to work, this number should be matched up right here. Remember, debit is out, and in is a loss. So we're out, so we know it's an income. And that does. So 368,601.46 does match 368,601.46. So our numbers did match up. Same net income, same net income. We're good to go. So you have completed now 14.6. Now the biggest thing I want to remind you before you go on to this on your own, add up your debit, belongs here. Add up your credit, belongs here. The difference then gets taken down here and put in this chart. That's how you figure out what your federal income tax is. Then that number right here, your 40,055.82, gets put into your actual worksheet on line 49 right here. Do the math. Figure out what the number belongs there. That gets put in three different places. Debit, credit, then brought over into our balance sheet, credit. Then you add this to your income statement, debit from prior. That's that. Bring your credit right there over. Get the difference, and that should be your net income after your federal income tax, okay? So the biggest thing is you're going to see a lot of different numbers. Now you have to put together all the pieces of the puzzle. Take your time, work bottom up, and you shall be all set to go, all right? All right, give 14.6 on your own a shot. Good luck. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.